Else is awesome?
What?
Nerds are awesome.
Exactly.
Market games, and after the panel you can come chat with us.
Absolutely.
At our tables, and just if you want to talk, shake hands, sign, whatever. And so we're just happy that you're taking time out of this one-day event to come hear us talk.
Now, we have a couple of games. I have a game on NES, a couple of them, and John Handcock over here has games on Atari. And how did you get about making games for the Atari 2600? Because this is like, these are new games.
Yeah.
That, I mean, the Atari's been around for, Atari itself has been around for 50 years, 2600's been around for 46 years.
Yes.
And you're making new games for the Atari, so people love it.
Yeah, so I'm more of a publisher, but also a game design assistant. I don't code, but essentially I got connected with some programmers doing some charity work, and then altered the games, and then I'm in the game, and then I got, it's crazy amount of work. So I got an artist.
Look at this guy. Open up, find out.
Oh, no. Oh, hey, look who it is.
It's a live
Rock Solid Productions.
Yep, Gary from Rock Solid Productions.
Okay.
Gary. Okay, we'll talk to him.
Okay, we're going to talk. Let's wait on that.
Okay,
that's special.
Wait till the end. There's going to be a live unboxing, apparently.
Oh, yeah. That's special.
All right.
Okay, so long story short, it takes work. Any homebrew game takes 3 people. It takes a programmer. It definitely takes an artist or somebody that can do artwork. And it also takes a musician, but as well as one of those people or a separate person needs to be the marketing muscle. And I'm the marketing muscle. And so I'm the publisher. And so any homebrew game is very difficult to do. Because you can do a great game, but if you have nobody to talk to promote it, it's dead in the water.
Right.
And that's a lot of homebrew is like that. And so I've been in the homebrew and aftermarket scene for 20 years. Mostly promoting and publishing it and doing the physical releases, which can be quite challenging. I'm happy to talk afterwards about that process to help other people out. Anyways.
That's awesome. And I'm on the same boat with NES games, and we both have a game for Sega Genesis. Actually, you have one published.
Yeah, Block 'em Sock 'em.
Mine's coming out soon. You can actually see Block 'em Sock 'em right there on the table as well.
And then you got something coming out.
I do have a Genesis game coming out. Hopefully by September is our shoot date. But I'll have my first game on Genesis, and I currently have a few games on NES. And John's right, where you don't have to. And I have a friend of mine who is a French culinary trained chef of all things, and he put it best, not knowing he was talking about the same thing I was talking about, where he said, because we were baking for each other. I love to cook. And I was like, oh, I wish I was better at baking, because when cooking, you just put stuff on there, you turn on the oven, turn on the flame, something comes out magically. But for baking, it requires like specific things. I was like, I wish I could do that. And he was like, trust me, you don't need to know how to do all that. He was like, you can make the best sauces in the world, because every restaurant needs a saucier. You can make the best sauces in the world. You don't have to know how to cook. You don't have to know how to bake. You don't have to do it. If you can do one thing well, you'll have a job for life. And I think homebrew markets are a lot that way, where you don't have to know how to code to make a video game. You don't have to be a musician to make a video game, but you can have friends who do.
Yep.
And they all come together. And because you're a musician friend, I promise you, your coding friend doesn't have a clue about marketing, but they know how to make video games. Yep. And you need those things in place. And I do some graphics, I do some pixel art, obviously. I mean, I've been here for a few years, so if you've seen the stuff I bring, where it's like just the weirdest game hacks you've ever seen in your life, and some homebrews as well. You'll be fine. You can find a team of people who can do art and do music and do marketing like we do.
Yeah.
I think we figured out, and I figured this out a long time ago, especially with our YouTube channels.
Yep.
I'm talking about everyone else's games all the time. I'm like, well, shoot, if I make my own video games, I can talk about my own video games all the time, and I get all the money for it. That's the best part, right? So,
and I think part of it too is that for long-time content creators, YouTube doesn't pay by itself great at all, less than minimum wage. And so really, on the side note, this is hobbyist fun. It's like homebrew games is not something you can live on. It's like the amount of time that I'm like scrubbing Atari cards or assembling it, watching someone else's YouTube videos while I'm doing it. Like, it's a labor of love. Like, people that do it, they don't do it for the money. It does help. it helps fund like travel
Like
expenses.
conventions, absolutely, yeah.
Travel expenses like food. Food's not typically covered, so that adds up multiple days. So that's and then any proceeds that I get from my homebrew sales, I do believe the same for you.
Right.
It goes just into another project.
Yeah.
Because like a good example, so Block'em Sock'em's coming to Super Nintendo.
Whoa, that's news.
Yeah. So and that's over.
Hold on. It hasn't happened yet. Hold on.
No, it's done. I actually have it on video, but yeah, we'll just talk about it. But my voice
Look
is
up
on
his
it.
channel.
It's going to be Super Block'em Sock'em. It's going to have voice samples,
Original.
complete in box, same price as the Genesis for $40. So the challenge is you got to pay a programmer. So I'm out over a couple $1,000s just to make it and to produce 50 copies. So those have to sell just to break even. So the amount of work of like putting that together and the time and the correspondence and the artist and the manual and the print shop and that's all time away from my family. Time, I'm a teacher by day, so like it's a lot of work just to do something fun. The other thing, and then can I announce? So I got a new.
Is that what this is? Wait. Oh, is that what this is?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know. Okay.
So the new
Hold on.
Game Panic 3 is coming out for $2,600, and Rock Solid Productions did a 3D printed like little ad goodie in it, and this is going to be in a hard shell case, offered on Game On Expo. But my goal is to offer this at conventions moving forward. It won't be numbered, so the goal is to offer it, and it plays like a Coleco tabletop. So it's me going around like collecting carts and stuff. Anyways, the new 2600 version, it looks like a priority mailbox. So it's got really cool artwork. Artist is Corey Kramer, and this is like the 3D printed goodie that's coming in there. But anyways, I like to do fun little things with my releases, and so the thing with the 2600 is I made it look like a priority mailbox.
That's fun.
So yeah.
I love it. I got one magic trick. Ready? Here we go. We have, coming soon, I have a game for the Sega Genesis. I think we finally decided on the game's going to be called Stack and Attract. The idea is it puts me, it takes place at church, but it's not a religious game. The idea is, much like these chairs here, to impress the ladies, you have to carry as many stacked chairs as you can in front of them. That's how you build up your awesome meter. You didn't have to put the chairs away. Yeah, it's one of those kind of tongue-in-cheek things too. And it's almost done. Shooting for an October release. I'll have a game called Choo Choo Mimic. It plays a lot like Choo Choo Rocket for the Dreamcast, but you're directing knights to be fed to a hungry mimic. So it's Choo Choo, like CHEW. That's the fun. And that'll be out very, very soon. There's already a couple of pictures and demos, and I'll have a demo available maybe after this weekend that you can download now and play like the first 4 levels that you get to ready for it. And I'm looking forward to that, and that's gonna be fun. So we're always doing stuff too, and as well as our YouTube channels, as well as our, we both have families, we both have full-time jobs, and then we do this too. It allows us to come out and hang out here for a bit, but that's what's coming soon. We do have our homebrews available on our table right behind you. As soon as you leave, we're back there with along with Warhorse. He sticks out like a sore thumb, and the colors and the chains he's wearing.
Adam Korlick's back there with Boogie, and just some great content creators and people. And just want to thank anybody who just came by and shook hands with me and talked. Like that's why I'm out here. Is really just
you do not need to buy something.
No.
Please do buy.
And I'm just here really, want to thank the organizers of the MOGameCon for having me flown out. It really is to connect with fans. That's the purpose of it. But there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff, and that's part of our panel here is to talk about that. I am releasing a Nintendo game called Tortoises, which is actually something I did for charitable work years ago, but it was only offered in Washington State. And I'm going to be bringing it to conventions unnumbered and everything. And then I'm also going to offer it, if possible, on Game Boy Advance, like Beavis.
Right.
And, Beavis, right?
Yep.
And which is great. If you haven't checked out his homebrew games, it's amazing. And so I have Block'em Sock'em coming for Atari 7800 and television. I want to do a 2600 version and the Jaguar version. Free to download. It's out. And if you play in the Big P emulator, it's free. So you can use the Big P emulator and you choose the game drive version. You have to force game drive mode, but you can play for free. So it's just giving back to the community, stuff like that.
It's just kind of fun. I mean, we both grew up as old school gamers, like probably everyone else here. So it's like, oh, we can actually make her. For the longest time, I was like, well, I can't make a video game. Turns out you can. You can be part of a team who is making a video game, and that becomes kind of your game, your baby, and all that. So encouraging everyone else to want to get into the homebrew scene, having to help, point you in the right direction and all that too. It's not cheap up front, but like he was saying, you start cheap. Like when I first started soldering, man, I use a $6 Walmart soldering iron for probably 15 years until I sold enough stuff to be able to instead of like going into my pockets where I should be paying the power bill, start cheap and work your way up. And then when you have the money, invest that money back into yourself and get better tools, get better things. It's a time saver, and especially you don't want to start with the most expensive stuff up front if it turns out, oh, I suck at soldering, or oh, you don't want it turns out it's not a hobby for you. Yeah, start on the cheap. Use that money to work your way up and do what you need and all that too.
Yeah, and assembling carts yourselves, like I do both. So I assemble stuff together and put it together. It's a long time process. But also Adam Welch of Second Dimension is a great supporter of Homebrew and Aftermarket. I know he works with both of us.
Yeah.
And so he assembles it and then essentially offers us a discounted rate where then we can offer this to fans. And so if I get a discounted rate, I pass that discount on to fans. So like for me personally, I'm always like, I'm old school. I remember going to a flea market and getting games for 20 bucks. And so I want to offer an affordable product. And so that's part of my reason why I do a lot of affordable price games, because I know, I want people to enjoy it and not have to feel like it's super expensive. No, Riggs does the same thing. He offers a lot of affordable product.
That's what
I just at a discounted price.
I just use the price to buy more carts buy more parts to make more games anyways too. I think we're part of a triangle scheme now that I think about it. Like we have a ultimate supplier that he's helping us out, and we're doing that. We're passing that on.
I think
it sounds like it, but that's I promise you it's not.
I think our Genesis games need to like form Voltron, like with their names and stuff. And then what would form the head?
I'll form the head.
Okay,
that's the quote. Okay. I'll form the head. I'll be the head.
We also can do a Q&A too.
So yeah. So I mean, we have some games where they're available over there. Didn't even need to talk your head off. I promise we're not selling an NFT. We could. We're not doing an NFT for you too. But yeah, we can just do a Q&A. I mean,
our games are offered digital though as well.
Now because I'm an old hat at this point. I've been here once or twice, but this is your first time here.
Yes.
So 20 questions with John Handcock here. I'll kick it off. However, absolutely come up with a question. It doesn't have to be about the games.
It could be about anything. YouTube collecting.
Yeah, YouTube collecting. Now let's go straight to that, because a lot of people might know you best for your collections and multiple collections. What's up with the museum?
Okay. So I'm happy to talk about that.
Okay.
So the answer to the museum, so I did an update in October. And since October, I have a business that's taking on hosting my collection. So I can't go public yet. It is an established handshake. I have to get a legal contract with them, but I formed a nonprofit 3 years ago, and for people that don't know, and so I'm donating my collection to the nonprofit. I do get a small tax break from that. It's just a percentage of what it's worth, but then once I do that, it's not mine anymore. And so this business will host it forever. They want to, in their legal contract, they want to do it, and it's an amazing place. Like when I go public with it, you'll be like, oh man, that's amazing. So I have the business, it's real, it's gonna happen. The plan is at the end of the year or next year, springtime, part of my collection will be on their site in a Nintendo room. I'll just say that.
Fancy.
The Nintendo room's being amazing, but it's more of celebrating what they're doing in that room, and then separate, they have a large 6,000 square foot place where the rest of my games are gonna go. And so that's a long-term process. They have to gut the room, they have to design it, so that's going to be a while. But that's the plan, that's the museum up there.
All right.
Yeah.
How many complete collections do you own?
34.
Okay.
Yeah. And so with other stuff too. So I have many other consoles and computers, not part of that 34 complete.
And if you've never been to like the Portland Retro Gaming Expo, John has always every year donated his entire NES collection, boxed, to on display. Here's what it all looks like all at once.
And I want to say, I give it to someone to drive there.
Yeah, so it's already.
Who would do that with their collection? Yeah.
You are very trusting.
Yeah. So and
I wouldn't.
They were
I
stressed.
promise.
They were stressed. So this next year, my Atari Jaguar and Jaguar complete set will be on display with the kiosk. It's not mine. So that's part of what I'm bringing. They're also doing like a slasher, like Friday the 13th theme. So I might have some games from my collection. That last year was Pac-Man. In fact, this is the shirt I wore to show all my Pac-Man collectibles were on display with as well. N64 complete box. Yeah. My N64 complete box collection was on display in plexiglass front and back.
Right. You did the Sega Genesis.
Yep. And Nintendo. Yep. And Nintendo. I don't have a box for my stadium events, but I have.
Oh wow! You call yourself a collector. No stadium events box. Okay, I see how you are.
So happy to answer any questions.
Yeah. Go for it.
Is your N64 complete box like? Is that just for North American?
Yeah, just North American. I'm a North American collector. I would say 95% of my collection is because of how I can collect it. But yeah, I'm self-admittedly mostly North American because it's going to be in North America. In fact, the Northwest Video Game Museum is my nonprofit, so that's why I focus on North American stuff. Good question.
Now, what is the most obscure complete collection you have? Because R-Zone? Engage?
I have Engage, yeah. Complete Engage with a dual kiosk and some other unreleased stuff. I have a Virtukoff case that was on display but was never made.
Okay.
And so I have Ouya like variation of hardware. I have a complete Ouya.
And you have a very unique Ouya item, don't you?
Yeah, the Var Burton signed Ouya, which was part of the Reading Rainbow Kickstarter. Yeah, we're going down the deep end. Channel F, complete set.
Okay.
Both demo carts, unboxed demo carts, if people know what that is.
Yeah.
Jerry Lawson, first cartridge-based console. Anything else?
I have a complete NES set, but it sits in a ROM folder.
Oh, yeah.
I have an Evercade, that kind of. What do you got?
Welcome back to St. Louis. Voltron is actually from St. Louis via Channel 11 via Japan. So home of Voltron. Love the references. You know it. St. Louis is Voltron. So if there was one licensed game that you could license and do a homebrew of, back in the day, what would your dream license be that never got a proper retro game? Like Voltron.
I got it. Yeah, I know. Okay, it's UFC Robo. It's Dengar. It's Dengar UFC Robo. It's part of the It's part of the Cresta series.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
And it would be a great Genesis game.
Fair.
So it's obscure. It's a shooter, and it's a cool shooter because you're a shit, and you collect parts, and then you can form a robot.
You're a what?
Got it.
I heard something different.
Yeah, Dengar or you have something Robo. Yeah, look it up, and it's good. It's a good game, and it's obscure, and it needs a Genesis form.
Fair.
Yeah.
Any property. Any property.
I know. My heart went straight to Mask.
Fun.
Yeah. So we had a He-Man game for Atari. We had a He-Man game for PS2 Europe. For PAL PS2 has a He-Man game. Transformers have done kind of the G1 things later in life, and they're not bad. They're honestly not bad. And of course, we had famously Transformers for the Handcock, where you play as Ultra Magnus. Nobody wants to play as Ultra Magnus. Doesn't want to play as Ultra Magnus. Yeah. And then they also had the Rodimus Prime version for Famicom Disk System. Headmasters. So there's been I would love Mask. Mask is not the most popular thing. We haven't really had that's one of the few that we haven't had a reboot of. But Mask was my favorite during its time.
Yeah.
So 100% I'd say Mask. I almost thought you were going to ask the question if we could take a license and make our own version of it or our own.
Well, that's kind of what I was.
Okay. Yeah. So as far as an IP that's like, oh man, we never got a never any story video game.
Strong.
Yeah. We had Labyrinth, but it only came out for the Famicom, also terrible. But man, this is a true story. I literally reached out to HAL Laboratories asking if I could buy the IP rights for Air Fortress for the NES. Because I love Air Fortress, and they literally wrote back saying, like, we are not interested in selling our intellectual rights to Air Fortress. And of course, my Northwest passive aggressive ass was like, okay, well, forward to seeing your sequel.
Yeah.
Because if you're not going to, but then I learned later in life. I mean, there's games for the for the Switch. There's a game called Super Cyborg. It's Contra, but they call it Super Cyborg. Look it up.
It's really good.
It's 100% Contra.
It has a great video on it.
And that's why so many people, so especially the indie guys, that's why they do these love letters. It's like if you're not into Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, there's going to be 1,000 other companies doing basically Legend of Zelda, but the way that you actually want the Legend of Zelda sequel.
Okay, I got one for you, for obscure. So, is it Your? It's a terrible movie. You sort of Your? It's like across
How do you spell
like.
it?
Mystery Science Theater did a thing on it.
Okay.
So it's like Land of the Lost with Planet of the Apes and Star Wars all put together. I want to play the video game version. Is it Your? I think it's Yours.
Look it up. Second Samurai might be closed. It was an import game for the Sega Genesis. If you ever look up, like if you're looking at Genesis imports or Mega Drive, I think it's at that point. There's a game called Second Samurai where it's you play as a samurai, but there's also time travel. There's cavemen. There's ninjas. There's magic.
Yeah, Your is it?
It's called Your.
Yeah, it's called Your. It's called it's a terrible cover, and it's called Hunter from the Future.
I've heard it.
And it's really bad, and you have to watch it because it's you keep watching. It's like no, they didn't throw that in. It starts out like Land of the Lost, and then it gets like
Y-O-R.
Yeah, Y-O-R, Your.
Okay.
And I want a video game of that, and I think it would be, and you would have to do it like a Dreamcast, PS2 era, like terrible, like a 3D engine that kind of works, because I think it would make a better game tie-in if it was terrible.
Yeah, a lot of myths.
Yeah.
Good question.
Yeah.
What do you got right here?
So, I know you guys have these incredible collections that have probably taken a lot of work to get to these simple games. I'm wondering, for both of you, is there one where it was like your trip to Wally World? Like that one thing you went to collect that like turned into an adventure really hard to get?
Oh, like completing it or just collecting in general?
Just collecting, like, did you travel somewhere to get it? Was it really hard to find a guy who did it? Or?
So in collecting, like going way out of your way, just for this one thing.
Yes.
What is the game you went the furthest out of your way to?
Just to get the one thing that you didn't have and didn't, yeah.
I drove 500 miles for Super Nintendo games.
Okay.
So I drove 500 miles. I didn't have a lot of money, but I never went into debt too for my collecting. So I would get something that was a little bit less conditioned to not go into debt. And it's because I'm happily married. Like that was a relationship,
Just stay happily married.
an agreement that I had with my wife to not go beyond my means. That's why I don't have a lot of kiosks and prototypes and signage, because I wanted to go for sets first. And so, but I drove 500 miles for Super Nintendo games.
How many Super Nintendo games did you?
It was a lot. It was like a bunch of nothing. There was nothing rare about it though. But it was all games I was missing. And then the guy offered me like a good deal. So it's nothing like the Cubert 3 was one of them. Like a bunch of boxes of random stuff. It was about 50 games. And so it paid for the gas money, the money I would save. Like I bought wholesale, but I had to drive to California for it. And I live in Washington. So I used to live in California, so I had to go. I was going back to visit family in the same area, but I drove there. But I drove there for picking up the games.
I don't have a cool story like that. I wish I did. I always just kind of bought what was local. I live about 2.5 hours away from Seattle, but I would drive to Seattle about every other weekend just to kind of buy up the liquidation stock from EV Games, Humper, etc. at the time. Just to, because no one else was buying it, so I'll just get everything there. So I didn't have to go too far out of my way, fortunately. But I guess there's never anything I couldn't live without. At least at that point, anyway. It's a good question. Yeah. Right, sir.
What are your white whales?
White whales. My white whale is a NES prototype called Ultimate Journey. Never came out. There's a box available. There's screenshots available online. No video. It's from Bandai. It looks amazing. It looks like almost like a Native American Ninja Gaiden kind of thing. It's called Ultimate Journey. Never came out, but there are screenshots. There's a box available.
It's somewhere.
The prototype hasn't been found. Off the record, there's people telling me that. But it's also off the record, on the record. Pretty sure we know someone who has the prototype, but is also such a mega collector. He's like, no, I'm never dumping the ROM. Which is too bad, because even if the ROM was dumped, it wouldn't diminish the value of the prototype. But it's one that I hope eventually sometime, at least in my lifetime.
Hopefully he's dumping it and having it stored somewhere, because eventually, sometimes this stuff
Those
is
ROM chips
lost.
go bad, yeah.
Because I get people, they invest, they speculate. I know there's that side of it. I'm not that guy.
Right.
And I understand that people are. But at least back it up so that the ROM is saved, so that eventually it can be played and enjoyed, or at least preserved. Because that's what needs to be the focus. And unfortunately, it sometimes isn't. I'm not here to judge people if they're like that or not, but hopefully if you got a prototype, please dump it.
Right.
Have someone dump it. Don't just have it sit in a shed, because that's how the ROM gets destroyed. And then then everybody's gonna be mad at you.
My white whale was SimCity for the NES, and most people don't know how dangerously close it came to never being dumped. Very, like, an eyelash away from, but fortunately it fell in the right hands, and as soon as they had it, they dumped the ROM immediately. And then they did the story, and the ROM's available now for anyone to download and play it. But yeah, it came very close to that now. So hopefully Ultimate Journey is mine. You can look it up on, any Google search will show you how awesome the game looks. Come on, let's see it.
So I have two white whales. A television computer add-on. It was only in a really test market. It was a brown computer add-on for the original television. They're out there, but they're thousands of dollars. I would love to have one. Odyssey 3 is the other one. It never came out.
I've never even heard of the Odyssey 3.
Yeah, the Odyssey 3 was like taking enhanced backgrounds. You could put Odyssey 2 games into the Odyssey 3, and it would have this background like overlay that would make them look better. Europe got it, we didn't. They got the equivalent of it. I don't know, anyways. Those are my two holy grails, or white whales.
White whales, yeah. Maybe sometime.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah.
Any other questions about collecting, about YouTube, about homebrews, about video games in general? Favorite place to eat in St. Louis?
Pizza was good in that.
Yeah, and anytime you ask anyone, there's always like because especially now coming here, like, and I'm a regional foodie anyway. Anytime I go anywhere, it's like, what food can I get here that I can't get anywhere else? So when it comes to St. Louis, it's always toasted ravioli, Emos because of the Provel,
Pork steak.
steak. Yep.
That's good.
Yeah.
What was it? The Ooey Butter Cake.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And he had his first experience with that one last night. So.
Oh yeah, the Coke.
Ski
Yes,
soda.
Diet Ski's pretty good.
Which is not like, it's not St. Louis specific, but it is a kind of a Southern Midwest thing.
But yeah, I've been really dedicating my time today for this show. I haven't had a lot of time to go around. Might be a little bit tomorrow.
Right.
But definitely, come by the table and tell me some places to check out that are local. So yeah, but the place by the hotel is pretty good. What was that?
Oh, it was just a flight deck or whatever.
Yeah, flight deck, but it's some pretty good food.
I have a person, the person who runs our local, like classic, stage venue for musicals and stuff like that in my town, in Yakima. He's from St. Louis. So he's like, oh, hey, this, that, the other, the City Museum and all that, the zoo, whatever. And I was like, man, I'm looking forward to Emos. And then he was like, Emos? Oh. He's like, you gotta go to Pie Pizza. And I was just like, but, I don't know. So, true. Everyone, see, there you go. Yeah. So maybe I'll go there. Maybe that'll be my new favorite place. I don't have a specific place I need to go, but I do love Emos. During the pandemic, I literally ordered it from Goldbelly, which made me mad because I'm paying, $100 for 4 pizzas. I go to a Schnucks in town. Oh, it's $8.99 on the shelf. I'm just gonna buy another suitcase and dry ice it back. I'm just so I don't know. I just like coming back and just whatever falls in our lap, I'll do it.
All right. Yes, sir.
Can you tell me exactly how close into the NES got to being destroyed forever, and or what the process of home dumping was like?
Oh, for SimCity for the NES. Well, it was part of an auction. It was part of a live auction, and it came down to a bidding war. And that's literally what it came down to. And the person who was bidding on it, who had some funds and backing of supporters, versus the guy who wanted it for their collection. I think maybe you know more about this than I do.
So I don't know how they used it to dump it. Sometimes you have to take the chips off to dump it, and other times you can use like off-the-shelf stuff that's already out there. There's like a device, I forget what it's called. You can hook it up to your computer and it can dump NES stuff directly.
And that's what I have.
And I don't know, I forget what that's called. I have it too. Yeah. Other times you have to it's like a special wrapper. You have to actually unsolder or take out the chips and put them in an EEPROM reader and pray to God that it's still there.
Right. I've done that before too.
And I know you have more experience with this. But
Yeah. I think this one fortunately was. A ROM dumping device.
Video Game History Foundation?
I think they have. I'm sure they have access to it because I mean, yeah, Video Game History Foundation will do that too. And then
who won the ROM? Who won?
Christian Diedrich.
Okay.
So and he's all about preservation.
Yeah.
Of course. So I mean, I have a device. It's the same device I use to program my video games. Will also be used to dump ROMs and everything like that. And it's literally just it's a device that you literally pop in your NES game and say it's this type of mapper. NES games have different circuit board types, so you choose what type of circuit board it is, and then you hit dump ROM, and then fortunately it dumps the ROM. You can do that for Nintendo, Genesis. There's a convention I went to where somebody found it was at a yard sale of somebody who used to work for Chemco.
Ooh, nice.
And he had all these prototypes of Shadowgate, Deja Vu, Uninvited, but had no way to take care of them, so I literally brought my computer device and everything just to dump the ROMs for him. Like right there on site. So it was like, oh, here's how it's done. But yeah, he's talking about there are the devices to program like ROMs for video games. Same idea, you can dump them off and then have the files, and you can combine the files and it turns into the game.
And there's one called Atari Max, does one for older consoles, and they have adapters that work with Odyssey 2, 8-bit, 5200, Atari 2600, 7800. And I've came across a couple prototypes, and I dumped those on Atari Age under the prototypes.
Right.
There's like little differences. There's not like, especially for 5200 is pretty common. But I've done that. I've done that for several games. Any prototype I get, I dump. So that's what I'm gonna do.
There's a few
Publicly dump.
there's a few methods, and they're very anticlimactic. It was like, well, that was easy. Okay, and now here's the ROM. Okay, email it.
Yeah, any prototypes I have access to, I'm gonna dump.
Yeah,
And share.
Right. I love it. Yeah, very close though. Yeah, it just came down to a bidding war.
And I'll be doing that on Atari Age under prototypes.
The bidding war?
No, just like I think that everybody needs to have access to this stuff.
I hear you. No. Yep. So it's all about.
Yeah.
Anyone else? What do you think? This handsome young man here in the back corner.
Thank you.
All right. My son, by the way.
Is there a game you want to play again for the first time?
Oh my God! And I think we've all thought of that, haven't we?
Oh, for the first time.
Yeah, like if you could relive the experience of that feeling of playing a game for the first time. My go-to answer for that, even though my go-to answer for favorite game of all time is Zelda 2. Is Zelda 2 the best game of all time? No, but the first time I ever played Zelda 2, it blew my mind. I was like, oh my God, you can do this with video games. But my go-to answer for that is Shadow of the Colossus, just because I mean, which is even barely a recent game. We're talking about Nintendo and Atari and stuff, or PlayStation 2. That's good. But yeah, playing that was the, oh my God, I forgot how video games could be like this with Shadow of the Colossus.
So mine would be Ninja Gaiden for the NES. The cinema and the music. I mean, I go on YouTube and just have that as background music. And Rygar too, the NES, the musician for both those games, brilliant. Solomon's Key as well. Tecmo had some of the best.
Solomon's Key.
Anyways, it was one of my first games I bought.
Well, it's a good song.
Yeah, but Rygar and Ninja Gaiden have really amazing soundtracks. But just the cinema and the telling of the story, like for Nintendo, we look now everything's a movie, but for Nintendo, that was groundbreaking. It's like the cinematic cutscenes and then the storytelling. It was amazing. I just absolutely loved how they did that.
And if you're ever curious, if you play Rygar for the NES, play Rygar for the Famicom. It has a different soundtrack.
Yeah.
Just for fun.
Yeah.
Because why not?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Yep. Anything else? We got time for a couple more questions?
I think so. What are we looking at, Jake? Is it 2:15 when we're out of here? 2:30? 2:30? Okay. Oh, we got lots of time then.
Okay.
What gaming magazines did you grow up with? Favorite memories? Nintendo Power, EGM, Game Pro?
Sure. My first one was Video Games and Computer Entertainment, which was I wasn't a PC gamer at all. I didn't have a computer. I mean, outside of having from a yard sale an Atom computer with the ColecoVision add-on just to play ColecoVision games. We never used the Atom site for anything, but that's what we had for ColecoVision. I loved it because it was at the time it was the one I could find, and it had computer stuff too. So, but I only use it for the video game side of it. But yeah, I mean, like to me, Nintendo Power was the thing. So I was a huge Nintendo fanboy. But I mean, I would read just about anything that came out. You have a favorite?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
EGM, was #1. And there's some other ones. What's the, trying to think of,
The late
what was the hardcore one?
Game Fan.
Game Fan.
Yeah, late 90s for Game Fan.
I couldn't afford it.
Imports.
So I would go to Safeway and like look at it. And then I would, I'd want it. And then like my family or I didn't have money or my family at the time. I think by then it was in college. So EGM was what I subscribed to. A little bit of Nintendo Power.
Game Pro for a while.
Game Pro was fine. I got like a free subscription. And so, but yeah, video games.
BGC.
And I tried some of the official Dreamcast magazine with the demo disc, and then eventually Xbox when I was working at Software Center. So I would get access to that stuff. I still had to pay for it, but I got a discount.
John, what was the Nintendo Power most impression? You open it up, oh my god, mind-blowing moment.
Rogue Squadron.
Rogue Squadron
So when Rogue Squadron came out, I've thumbed through that episode so many times I wore out the pages. I was such a Star Wars, I still am, a huge Star Wars nerd. Absolutely loved that game, the Y-Wing missions were bombing stuff. And then Rogue Leader came out for GameCube, mind blown. And then like, I still, Gold Medal every level. Oh my gosh, Rogue Squadron, I literally destroyed the magazine by reading it so much. So.
And that was the, because you were, and we would have mentioned this up front too, but you were so much of a Sega boy.
Yeah.
Like where I was into Nintendo, but you were so into Sega, so you were a little bit, and not that you didn't play Nintendo.
Yeah, I loved N64, and I don't defend that system to this day. Because of Rogue Squadron, Shadows of the Empire, Racer, those are all great Star Wars games, and I really got enjoyment out of it. Like any good game is a game that you keep going back to. It doesn't matter what the reviewers say, it doesn't matter what anybody else says. If you enjoy it, then it's a good game for you, and those games I played so much. It was awesome.
Riggs, Nintendo Power, what was it?
Yeah, for me, Nintendo Power, I don't remember what it was specifically, and I didn't get an NES until like early '89. So Nintendo Power was already out, so then I got my subscription later. I do have a couple of the earlier shoes now, of course. And I remember seeing, like, my friend had Nintendo Power. I was like, oh, this is cool. But I don't know why to this day, but I'm a huge nerd for retro video games, 80s and 90s, with everything, whether it be video games, pro wrestling, anime, breakfast cereal. Of course, I have a breakfast cereal with about 80s and 90s stuff back there. I love maps. Like I used to read we had a Rand McNally's road atlas of every state, and I would read it like I was reading a novel. I would just look at the map and see where things go. If I go over here, maybe I can go over this. I don't know, I can't explain it, I just always have. But Nintendo Power was the one that would have like Super Mario Brothers, but in map form. Like here's what it looks like unframed, the entire stage, or Mega Man 2. Here's what it looks like unframed, and for me that was mind blowing. It was like, oh, here's what the whole thing looks like, in one sitting, outside of screen by screen. Or Legend of Zelda for sure. The original Legend of Zelda came with an unfinished map that you were supposed to fill in like you discovered on your own and draw in the cemetery or stuff like that too. I just thought that was super fun and interactive.
Favorite wrestling game that isn't No Mercy?
Oh, No Mercy's not even my favorite wrestling game anyway.
What?
That's my what? What happened? Like No Mercy, in Japan, it's still the Aki engine, but Virtual Pro Wrestling 2.
Sure.
It came out between WrestleMania 2000 and No Mercy. No Mercy is more polished, but in Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, you get to choose which. You have two finishers. You have a special and then a super special that you can only use once per match. In that one, when you edit your wrestler, you can choose which moves bleed or which moves knock out. And nothing is funnier on the slow motion instant replay if you knock someone out with a low blow, and they crumple over and do all that too. And you can also make shoot fighters on there too, like you could with Revenge, where you couldn't edit your wrestlers on there, but they had a few fighters that would. Yuji Nagata was one of them. You can make a shoot fighter on there, so instead of doing wrestling maneuvers, you kind of strong grapple, and then your move, and then you go to a fighting stance, and you have 6 or 10 if you're in your special maneuver. That just turns into like combos. So like punch, kick, you do like arm drag takeover or something like that. And you can do that in Virtual Pro Wrestling 2 on the import Nintendo 64.
Special homage to Intellivision Super Pro Wrestling.
There we go.
One of the late releases for it, and it's really incredibly deep for the limitations. And it's not going to blow anybody away graphics-wise, but I have a lot of respect for how much depth is in television release. It's pretty rare now. You can play it free on our own. Check it out.
Okay.
Fun. Yeah.
I love them.
All right. Anything else?
Collecting YouTube, homebrews, cereal, Voltron, anime. Yes, sir.
What are your favorite movies?
Oh,
Movies.
Oh yeah. I couldn't quite hear the question.
Okay. So I got an eclectic top 5. Blues Brothers, Empire Strikes Back, favorite Star Wars movie.
Yep.
It's Better Than Jedi. Sorry.
It is. No, sorry. You're right.
So Blade Runner, the first Blade Runner, one of my favorite of all times. Oh, now it gets kind of obscure. So one of my favorite terrible movies is Robo Vampire, and that's a terrible movie, but it's so bad, and I laugh to this day. Goonies. I like them all over the place. I like a lot of science fiction. I like a good kind of long drawn out. I like the new Dune. I'm looking forward to part 2. So that looks good. Really like what they did with Blade Runner 2049. That was really good too. Those are the type of movies I like. I like either a really serious science fiction that's kind of dark and bleak. I don't like happy and campy. I don't know. I like a little more bleak, realistic. I'm a little twisted like that. Those are the type of movies I like.
I mean, my favorite movie of all time is All Sorts because I'm in it. Of course, naturally. It's on Amazon Prime. It's on Tubi right now. Look up the movie All Sorts. I'm one of the play-by-play announcers. It's a movie about underground office file folder competitions, one-on-one. It's called All Sorts, and I'm in it at the end during the last finale. Anyway, no, I'm not much. Believe it or not, I've never been as much into movies. Just because I'm that's a 2-hour investment when I could spend that 2 hours playing video games. But with anyone else who, I was born in the late 70s, but kind of grew up in the 80s. So you talk about Princess Bride, you talk about
that's good.
Princess Bride is probably my favorite. If I had to
that's really
elimination. Yeah,
Ghostbusters.
Goonies, Ghostbusters. Yeah, I like the second Ghostbusters too. It was fun.
And those aren't campy to me. Those are you can quote the words. Blues Brothers has so many great quotes in it. I watch that once a year.
It's fun watching Ghostbusters now as an adult versus as a kid. I was like, ooh, there's a ghost and they're fun and but you watch it now and it's so city political about oh, you don't have a license for this thing, we're gonna revoke this thing. It's this is real life. You can't pay the power bill,
Are you a god? No.
Answer it.
I love that.
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right. Anything else?
Pizza time? There we go. Yeah, we have time for a couple more questions.
Yeah.
I got a question. What is I just said welcome back, both of y'all. Welcome back. And second of all, what is y'all worst video games of all time when y'all was little?
The worst video game of all time?
Yes.
Okay, worst game.
Worst game that you ever played.
Worst game that we have or played?
Yeah, ever have played
Everybody
back in the day when I was little?
My answer for this is Deadly Towers.
Oh yeah.
And not that it's the worst game of all. Yeah, sorry.
Agreed.
Not that it's the worst game of all time. And I think I probably mentioned this on a video once. I don't like it because I'm supposed to love everything about it. Because it's everything I love about video games. It reminds me of the Hostess Snowball, the snack cake. So I love chocolate cake, I love cream filling, I love coconut, I love marshmallow. But I bite into one, I'm like, this is the grossest thing I ever had in my life. So Deadly Towers is an overworld adventure, huge maps. Build money, the experience, you shoot with these things, kind of a cool, creepy vibe to it, and I play the game once every 6 months. I'm like, this is, why do I keep coming back to this? I keep thinking of it like this. It's like when you open the fridge a second time, you're like, well, nothing's changed. Every time I come back to it, it's like, well, this game still sucks. All right, why do I keep coming back to it?
Drake and the 99 Dragons Xbox. So
I never heard of this.
Okay, so I think they ran out of money, but Angry Gamer Nerd did a video on it. The design is terrible. The second level, you're going back to the first level in reverse. It is so broken on so many levels. Not fun. I mean, that's one of the worst games I've played. Superman 64 is up there.
Yes.
That's pretty terrible. You have this great superhero. There's a whole story of why it's bad. Those come to mind. Deadly Towers is actually one of my worst games as well. It's so bad that Metal Jesus did a I Hate You series. Who remembers that? Anybody remember early Metal Jesus I Hate You?
Yeah.
He made me a Deadly Towers trophy and put I Hate You on a Deadly Towers card, painted it copper, and gave it to me. I mean, this is why I hate the game. You look at the cover, and you're like old school, you're at a rental store, you're just it's going to be a Conan the Barbarian, it's going to be gritty and mature, and it's going to be fun to play, there's going to be heads flying and all this cool stuff. What do? You pop that stupid game in, and it's Fisher Price looking, there's invisible things to check out, it's not fun, there's secrets in that game, and my friend loves this game. We argue about this all the time. Like, I don't know what value you see in this. It's a stupid game. I hate that game. I don't play it because I can't. I play it like 2 minutes, and I'm just like, nope. I'd rather, I don't know. I'd rather like lick a wall. I don't know. I'd rather do anything else.
I don't believe you.
Yeah.
Dr. Chaos.
I want to get into that game because I love Goonies too. Yeah. And it plays so much like it, but I always get lost almost immediately. But I also didn't grow up with Dr. Chaos. That one I played later. But yeah, both for Deadly Towers and
Deadly Towers.
I have a friend of mine who likes, he unironically likes Deadly Towers and Super Pitfall. But on top of that, he has a complete TurboGrafx 16 set. So it's like, well, I mean, I don't know. It takes all, every game is someone's favorite game of all time. It just takes time to find that person, I suppose. I don't know. What do we got? We got time for, let's do like maybe one more. Before we have to let the next panel. Yeah, we're gonna have Adam Krolik and Boogie coming in next.
Yes,
so.
amazing.
Don't have to get up when we get up. But if you do want to get up, we have our table in the back corner. Happy to take selfies and autographs. 100% free. We do have our games for sale as well. I have my cereal book for sale too.
Atari, Sega Genesis.
And he's doing the smart thing too, where even if you don't have a Sega Genesis, you have the ROMs available
on a USB stick.
On a USB, which I need to steal that idea.
And have my early videos collecting, and it's almost sold out on VHS tape.
Yeah, so if you're a VHS collector, might have a special piece in your collection.
Those take a long time to make.
Yeah, this is like over 10 years. This is pre-beer, I think.
Yeah, pre-beer. Yeah, so 15 years ago.
What's the price of admission alone?
That's it.
Favorite Color Dreams game? You must choose one.
You know what's funny?
Or bunch games? Can I include bunch games?
You can also include Wisdom Tree, I suppose, in that one. You know what's funny? I'll include Wisdom Tree because Spiritual Warfare isn't terrible. It plays a little bit like a Legend of Zelda. So check it out. Yeah.
There's an underwater shooter that's okay from bunch games.
It's not Mermaids Atlantis, is it?
No.
Okay.
No, there's another one that's pretty rare. And then Master Who and Drunk Who.
That was pretty good.
Rental.
I have a rental copy of my.
But it's funny because to go full circle, those people were making those same games. It was like a team of 2 or 3 people. Yeah. It's no different than what we're doing. Just they had they were able to put their stuff on store shelves or rental stores. Yeah, because they're just doing indie games.
Well, they just changed their direction, knowing that if they went and made, I think the story goes is like they changed the Wisdom Tree, knowing that Nintendo would go not after them if they were making like religious themed games.
Yeah. Then you'd have to go like a Christian bookstore to purchase them.
And they used to sell those in the Northwest at a place called Jesus Northwest. They had a table, and you would come up and you would, nothing against that stuff. That's where we would buy their games at like a big religious convention.
I don't know if they still do, but as of probably 3 or 4 years ago, you could still go through their site and buy officially licensed like the boxes and manuals, still print.
For PC,
not the card. Well, a couple of cards. They would have like the Super Noah's Ark for Super Nintendo. You could buy that.
Pico Interactive sells it. They sells them legally. They still buy them on. They have like a 3D Doom game. Noah's Ark.
Yeah, that's the one. So, all right. Well, thank you for being here. I appreciate this, Adam and Book.
Yay!